1, 2, 3, 4.
In this podcast, you will hear Knights of Vader. Knights of Vader includes, but is not limited to, talk of Star Wars, not Reagan's. We can't truly prepare you for the jump that follows this song, but hey, we gave it a try. So here's the Knights of Vader. Crystal Fox reports they are divided. Prequel, sequel, cadence of they ride. I know that we are just musicians hired, and their time is up. So here's the Knights of Vader.
Impressive. Most impressive.
Thank you, Correct Aspect Ratio, for providing our theme song. Today is March 9th, 2022. I'm Zenger, and we're going to talk about the Kenobi trailer because I guess it's a thing we need to speak on, because God forbid we go a day without speaking about Star Wars stuff on this show. Oh, wait. Also, over 3 million hits already at the time of this recording. You got me, Zenger. I'm joined by Zack. Chris Bordius.
I'm so excited to talk about the third coming of Benjamin Kenobi.
And finally, the man behind Aspect Ratio Complex, Rob.
I like that one. I don't think I've heard that one from you before, but I'm glad to be back. I'm glad to give what I always bring, some high intensity, deep insight on this 100 seconds of content, and hopefully some other things that Zack might pull out of me after all this time.
I can't wait to hear all the statistics about this thing that we are watching.
Zenger, I think it's going to be more math this episode, but I'm sure we'll get to it.
I can't wait to have everyone hear the sound of me snoring.
Perfect.
I'm sorry, Zack. I took over this episode. I'm going to continue to just ride this train.
Go for it.
Apparently, Star Wars consists of you want a good Star Wars thing. Let's put a train in it because we did that with Solo and it failed. So we're just going to keep making up for it. So we got the trailer for Obi-Wan Kenobi, teaser trailer with a distinct lack of Kenobi in the trailer, in my opinion. I was quick. I guess I'm going to start with a quick one sentence answer to how I felt about this. Blindly indifferent. As a Star Wars fan, I know. Shocking. Chris, how did you feel about this? One sentence answer.
Prequel music edited together.
Interesting. Zack, I'm sorry you used up your time. Rob.
I have two things written down about this Kenobi shenanigans, as it was put to get me into this episode. One is a question for you guys, but my one sentence review of this teaser trailer is, other than Ewan McGregor and Uncle Soon Dead, I don't know what I'm looking at.
All right, Zack, you've been awarded more time by the judges.
Judge.
Would you like to take this opportunity to utilize it for one sentence?
I think I'm going to take over here. So concludes this episode of Knights of Vader.
Oh, dear. Actually, on my thing, Zenger, it's 4.2 million views. It went up 1 million views in the last couple
seconds.
seconds.
Sorry. I'm watching it on IGN. My bad.
Ugh.
I
know. What is this, 2008?
It is.
Are they pulling like Netflix numbers where they say like every person that has ever lived has watched this trailer now in the first 48 hours of its release?
Oh God. No, it's funny because I know this afternoon they did a big like marketing dump. Like apparently the last edition of Entertainment Weekly ever in print form is devoted to this.
Huzzah?
I saw that. What?
Huzzah?
Yeah, I know.
Do we cheer this?
I know, right? Like I saw that and it's like, wow, like the last print edition of Entertainment Weekly will be a Star Wars thing. And like the cover looked neat, like it looked promising enough. It very reminiscent of like what Entertainment Weekly has been doing for the last 25 years, which might explain why they're going away. But no, so like I saw these stills, saw some of the interview stuff, and I'm like, okay, like cautiously optimistic. And then around, I think it was around like 3:00, the trailer debut, give or take. And much like Chris said, goddamn prequel music. Like, weird to think of it, but that prequel music. And then there was and this is where Rob's partially here. This is like a third of the reason Rob's involved with this, is a shocking amount of like Jedi Fallen Order references in this trailer. There's more Jedi Fallen Order in this than there might be actual Obi-Wan Kenobi in this trailer. And that's kind of weird to think that a 2-year-old Star Wars game is getting sort of like kind of implicit spotlight. I never anticipated from this.
Does this happen before the game? After the game? Many questions need to be answered. We will answer most of them. Chris, what was your experience watching this? I want to walk through everybody's day leading up to watching this because mine is eventful.
I was pulled up at a camera rental facility when I saw the notification on my phone, and I had at least put in headphones to watch it, but you know, like, it's really shameful to watch things on a phone in a car. It's just like, it's very less than ideal viewing situation. But I wish they would have just gone with, like, you know, for like the Rise of Skywalker trailer, when they just got somebody to like redo some John Williams music that wasn't actually something he made. I would wish they would have done something that sort of felt more deliberate and connected, rather than like an editing mashup of the music, which is what's in this. I think that would have sold me a little bit more, because I'm very easily psychologically manipulated by well thought out music tracks and trailers. Like you said, there's a lot of Fallen Order. I personally don't like that they're leaning so hard into the Inquisitors, because I don't feel like the Inquisitors should be bleeding into the live action media. I mean, it's accepting that everything is canon, but it's probably not something that would have happened. Like, they probably wouldn't have taken video game characters and put them in movies like on Lucas's watch. He would have just made up something new that he liked. And it's just weird to me that if you watch the prequels, then this show, and then the original trilogy, it's like, where did this weird crew of Jedi hunters come from? Because they just sort of pop out of nowhere unless you watch 4 seasons of Rebels. So I don't really get it. I think the Inquisitors kind of look like dorks in the trailer. Like, they got the pirate hat guy, and they got the Grand Inquisitor who looks kind of goofy. So I don't know. I don't want Obi-Wan to do too much fun, interesting stuff, because I'm supposed to feel like he made a big sacrifice by hanging out on Tatooine for 18 years. So I don't want him taking vacations and going all over the place.
Rob, walk us through your experience watching, like your day leading up to watching this.
So I, of course, I think I've said before, for some reason, I'm in the Knights of Vader Facebook chat group. I think I now understand why, because I am somewhat, ancillarily related to this now. But you guys were talking. You were like, oh, let's record. Let's do something, as you usually do, these grand ideas of getting together for Knights of Vader episodes. And then Zack, of course, was like, Rob, are you available? And I was like, well, do you want me to be on an episode, or do you want me to actually talk about, setting up a future episode that I'm very excited about, which I hope we get to talk more about in this discussion?
Oh, please God, no.
And Zack was like, oh no, you need to be here for everything I've ever wanted you on Knights of Vader for. And I went, oh man, I guess I knew this day had to come. I have to pay the piper for Jedi Fallen Order. But then basically I said, okay, I'm here. I'm basically doing this, and Zach's going to like this. This is preventing me from rewatching Malignant tonight, so thank you, Zach. I will have to watch that later.
So this is why you were so easy to convince.
Yes, I would have been sitting down for that again, but I mean, it's not that I'm not going to rewatch it. I just get to put it off, thankfully. But then I basically said, what do I have to watch for Kenobi? And Chris was like, this. And I sent me the YouTube video. I clicked on it. It's 106 seconds long, an egregious amount of time. And then I watched it maybe 10, 15 minutes before we got on this call. And I took my copious notes, like I said, the 2 things I had written down. But in all honesty, like I said, I am... You guys are going to have to remind me what is the Jedi Fallen Order stuff. I'm sure as we talk more about Jedi Fallen Order, I will it'll come back to me and things of that nature, because I do have notes when I played through Jedi Fallen Order to try and remind me. But yeah, that was it. It was decent fun. I also want to say I am a big fan of Ewan McGregor in general, so it was good to see him. And like I mentioned, Uncle Soon Dead is always fun to see. No ant gonna bite it though.
Well, let's remember that Obi-Wan only lives about a day longer than Uncle Soon Dead.
Yes. That's actually, I never really thought about it that way.
Okay, so real quick, just to make sure I'm understanding this correctly, Jedi Fallen Order takes place 14 BBY, which means that's 5 years after Revenge of the Sith, right?
Sure.
Chris?
Pretty close.
Okay.
This is a little bit after that.
Okay. So apparently Kenobi's taking place 8 years after Revenge of the Sith, which means as of now, Cal Calrissian is still alive.
Possibly.
Yes, because again, apparently Jedi Fallen Order 2 is in development with allegedly soon to be canceled Jedi Fallen Order.
Perfect.
There you go. Just like Star Wars Eclipse being released in 2037. 2037 Star Wars Eclipse. So it will be after the events of Fallen Order.
Possibly. Unless they just rearrange stuff.
Everything.
I'm gonna throw it out there. I didn't get to go over my day leading up to this.
Oh, I'm sorry, Zenger.
So my phone proceeded to melt at one point because I'm at work and I can't really be on my phone. And I get like a ton of messages. I'm like, what the crap's going on? And then my Twitter proceeds to melt. And I'm like, oh, there's a Star Wars trailer. So while sitting in the parking lot waiting to get out, because of course no one activated the gate, so we all have to wait for the arm to come up, let one car out, then go back down. There's a couple hundred people leaving at one time, so I got time. Sitting there watching it, I'm like, oh, cool, this was neat. I get home, take pre-workout, go do leg day, had a great workout, thanks for asking, and then proceeded to watch it again on my computer. It was like, huh, once again, this is the thing, and now I'm watching it at 1/4 speed.
Is it better or worse?
If I catch anything else. So far, I've watched it twice over as we have started recording and about to start a third time.
On a quick tangent, Zenger, I have to know, like, how much do you grunt at the gym?
Not that much, actually.
I imagine you being an obnoxious grunter.
No.
You know? Like, I imagine you with, like, a 10-pound weight, and you're just like, like a female tennis match or something, you know?
Do people
God, I wish.
Do people still get shamed on the internet for doing that?
They better.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, people get shamed for that stuff all the time, I take it. By me. Because I'm like, you're struggling with that? Pathetic. I do have a vague idea I do want to try out. Ellie said she doesn't think it's going to work, but I'm going to throw it to you guys real quick. I said in my lazy attempt to do a Star Wars costume, I think I should put on one of the helmets and just lift with the helmet on and be like Storm Bro. Like Stormtrooper Bro. I've got a shaker that has the Imperial symbol on it. So I'm like, I could totally like make that like a Instagram thing. Okay, no takers. Got you. We'll talk about this some more.
Oh God! Why am I the only person weirdly excited for this? This is unnerving.
I'm cool with this, but there was nothing in here that was shocking. There's nothing in here I was surprised by. Thrawn's going to be a character that we're going to see in this. If that doesn't happen, they have failed me as a fan.
That will not happen because he's off with Aladdin. He's off with Aladdin somewhere in the unknown regions.
No, he's in the Empire at this point.
Oh yeah, he is. Oh yeah,
yeah,
right.
He would be in the Empire, kind of floating around. Why couldn't they have a cameo of him to set him up to make sure that everyone knows? He was with the Empire.
Because that's not what's here right now. Okay, we should. Okay. Zenger's upset about something that has nothing to do with this.
Dang straight.
Zenger's mad that he ordered ice cream and didn't get a brownie. He's like, I didn't order this, and why didn't I get it? No, like I said, I think that, like, the thing that's the most fascinating for this is how much, like, we do not see a blue lightsaber in this. Like, we do not see Obi-Wan Kenobi doing anything. There is no Darth Vader outside of the just obligatory breathing that is sprinkled in very lightly at the very end. That alone, like, this is like the Rogue One marketing all over again, where like they have an ace up their sleeve and they're holding it back, which is like refreshing for Lucasfilm that like they're not blatantly hitting us over the head with it. That, like I said, that's the interesting thing. And like I said, you get all these interesting things. Like, yes, I will give Chris credit. The Inquisitors in live action look very, very goofy. I don't know why. Like, everybody has like a squat head. Like it's just like these weird squat heads where both the Grand Inquisitor and the Fifth Brother had more of like an oval shaped head, and they got people with very round faces. Clearly, like ever since the whole Cad Bane controversy of why isn't he darker blue? I'm not sure, Rob. What do you feel about the skin tone of Cad Bane? What is your opinion on blue shades of alien characters? Like that was something the internet was Star Wars internet was very concerned with. What, Chris? Like a little over a month ago.
I think Chris was nodding for everybody, so thank you. I
didn't want to interrupt you, Rob, but now I did.
That goes with, I think your question, Zach, goes into a question that I was going to ask you guys, is like, what am I supposed to know from this trailer? So I'm guessing, is Cad Bane...
Swipe your credit card to help Obi-Wan Kenobi defeat the Empire.
Well, of course. I mean, that's, that goes without saying. So is Cad Bane... I'm guessing, I remember the blue kind of wrinkly skin guy in the trailer. Am I thinking of the right one?
Obi-Wan Kenobi?
Yes, wrinkly skin.
No, Cad Bane has nothing to do with this.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
No. It was just the point of we're getting a lot of anime characters being adapted into live action.
Oh, okay.
And that's kind of what Chris was saying. Like Chris's main thing, because I didn't know the trailer was rleased until Chris posted it in our group chat, and he's like, the Inquisitors look like dorks. And I'm like, I guess we got a trailer. That was the only thing that gave it away to me. Unlike Zenger, none of my technology blew up on me.
So I think I understand. Okay, I think I understand better what you're asking. I think that there's a weird thing, and I mean, I think the last time I was on, when you had me kind of cold watch part of the Boba Fett episode, we brought up the notion of those speeders that were like those very neon colors, and they seemed out of place in the color palette. I kind of think, when I watched this 100 seconds of the teaser trailer, that the color palette looked very similar to what we got from like The Mandalorian and Boba Fett. I mean, they're all on Tatooine or sand planets or whatever, so the color palette is inherently going to be that drab, I guess. But it just seems like that's the route they're going with these Star Wars TV shows, I guess I'd say. You guys would know better, of course, but that's the feeling I'm getting. And so whenever you have these aliens, these non-human creatures that are supposed to be so wildly colorful, that really pop on the screen, whether it be in Clone Wars or Rebels, that have, that 3D animation style, I think it's a conscious choice to tone them down to make them fit in the color palette better. Because I would honestly believe if they popped, like they did in the cartoons, that we would be saying the same thing we did about those speeders, where it's like, whoa, this is distracting almost, if that makes some sense.
No, you're right. Like, it can't be jarring. But I do think there's more of a middle ground there. Like, it doesn't need to be exaggerated, but also too, like, we think back to like the Phantom Menace, and you have like the Nemoidians, and you have all these characters that are exaggerated. I think there is a way of, and again, it feels just, it's the Lucasfilm thing now that everything's on TV. It feels very, again, like TV. Like, we're cutting corners. We're going to stop putting as many layers on it as we need to. Again, I don't want to say lazy. It just feels like they're deliberately not going as far with it as they could. Like, again, they have the resources. They can do whatever they want. But we also have to wonder too, because I don't think these Inquisitor characters are meant to be the big bad of the show. Like I've been reading spoilers for Kenobi. Like, pretty much the first episode, the plot of it has been leaked online. And everything I've seen in this trailer seems to corroborate that. And from what everything is being said is that Vader kind of doesn't show up until the end of episode 3, much like the movies. And he becomes the major antagonist in the latter half of this series. And again, much like the marketing tagline from 2 years ago, it's also in all the Entertainment Weekly coverage. It's rematch of the century with Darth Vader. So clearly they're going to give us Ewan McDonald versus Vader in the suit again. Like, we are going to get what was it called? The thing I hated from a couple of years ago, scene 1138 reimagined.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
I deliberately said that wrong.
Oh yeah, man, that was actually really good.
No, that is still the problem. Like, no, we need to flush that down the toilet. Like, please.
No, I'm good.
Well, this is the thing. It's funny. I've been sitting on this point for a while now, because I know, like, when they first announced this and Kathleen Kennedy said that the rematch of the century, we're all like, what are they thinking? Like, what is where is this coming from? And we all went back to like the moments of Vader and Obi-Wan on the Death Star from episode 4, and we were trying to kind of like just kind of parse through everything they said, and we're like, there are some things of like Vader saying you shouldn't have come back, and we were trying to again figure it out. But there's an interesting line that Vader says to Luke in Return of the Jedi, which might be the focal point of all this, in that he says to Luke, after like Luke goes through his spiel on Endor with Vader, and he's like, come back to the light, blah, blah, blah. And Vader kind of sits there and goes, Obi-Wan once thought as you did. And I'm like, I wonder if this is going to be like the thing, like Obi-Wan realizes that Anakin is still alive. Because I would imagine prior to this, Obi-Wan probably doesn't know. Right? Are we too, like, much like how Rob asked, like, what are we supposed to glean from this? Like, we all know what Obi-Wan does for 19 years. There's a very specific reason, like Lucas ends the film with him on
Watch his
Tatooine.
Kids. Sorry, a kid.
And kid. And that's the thing. So like, there's only so much you can do with Obi-Wan in this time frame. And from the leaks, it seems like, again, okay, I'm going to let Chris decide, because I think Zenger doesn't care and Rob certainly doesn't care. How far do we want to throw up a preliminary spoiler warning? Ever since the Rise of Skywalker, I'm very afraid to talk about things I read on the internet when we inadvertently gave away an entire film, 4 months before it was released.
I haven't read this first episode leaked information, but if you're saying most of it appears to be in this trailer,
it checks out from what I'm seeing. Like, it looks, it's from Making Star Wars. Which I find funny because I didn't know that site still existed. And I loved how at the end of the article that describes it, it ends with, I was canceled, feel bad for me. And this is coming from the guy who literally went out of his way years ago to cancel anybody he didn't like. And I'm just like, man, karma's delicious.
You know what's so funny about that? Yesterday, I also just realized that guy still exists and is posting content, because he was like, the Obi-Wan trailer is going to drop tomorrow. So fascinating that that's still going. But yeah, I didn't read the episode leak. I don't think anything's going to be like, I don't know if you, I guess, put a spoiler warning if you're going to talk about it here. But
it's nothing revelatory. It kind of just, it lays out the groundwork for how like the series is going to go. So, okay, here we go. Spoiler warning, skip ahead to 10 minutes at least from now. No, basically what happens is that
Palpatine comes back in Rise of Skywalker. Oh, dang it.
Palpatine's behind it all.
When you realize Palpatine comes back in Rise of Skywalker, like, what does it really matter what happens in these 6 episodes of Obi-Wan, really? You know? Anyways.
I know, right? That sounds like the Star Wars equivalent of Rob being like, nothing matters. It's just like Palpatine will come back and just wreck it all. No, so basically, like, the show begins that Obi-Wan is essentially a recluse. Like, he's living in the desert. He doesn't even have his little hut yet. He like lives in caves. Like, he kind of travels around on the Hasbro toy released in 1999 that Qui-Gon rides. And he's overlooking like Luke from a distance, much like Fennec Shand and Cad Bane. Luke also wears the exact same outfit his entire life.
Perfect.
He's a video game character.
Exactly. Until he gets to Yavin, they give him a yellow jacket for an award ceremony. And then like this Jedi, I don't know if it's supposed to be a kid or like a Padawan, shows up to Tatooine, like is like, Obi-Wan, I saw your beacon. From like that they've done from Revenge of the Sith, Rebels, Jedi Fallen Order. It's like, I saw the beacon, like I've come here to help you. Like I was disillusioned 8 years ago, but now like we should rebuild the order. And that's the thing from the like voiceover from Ewan McDonald at the beginning of this, being like, the Jedi are over, they're gone, we lost. And basically Obi-Wan tells this kid, like, get lost, like, no. And apparently the Inquisitors, they track this new Jedi to Tatooine and they're looking for them. And that's where this whole like, oh God, the bazaar, again, the obligatory Tatooine bazaar sequence happens, where they're looking for this new Jedi character. And Obi-Wan kind of realizes like, oh God, like they're getting a little too close to me. This is where Uncle Gonna Bite It shows up. And you have all that. While this is all happening though, apparently Princess Leia is kidnapped as a way of drawing out any potential Jedi, because apparently the Inquisitors have figured out that like, okay, Bail Organa was a Jedi sympathizer for many reasons. And it's like, okay, if we do something to him, maybe we can draw somebody out of the woodwork. So Obi-Wan goes, well, I can't stay on Tatooine because obviously there's too much kind of going on right now. And on top of that, I need to rescue Princess Leia. So he leaves the planet, but apparently right before he does, he sees that the Inquisitors have caught this Jedi Padawan and like literally have like crucified them like in the middle of like the bazaar. There's one shot you can see of this is like there's like somebody like slouched over like on, you see like I think from like their knees down, and apparently they killed this person, this young Jedi, and that kind of even leads further to Obi-Wan's just kind of failure, all of this. And he leaves. He goes to the equivalent of, I think in the leaks it's described as Space Reno. Like it's a very kind of seedy version of what Canto Bight should be. And that's where kind of like a lot happens. Like that's the whole thing where they're trying to lure him out. You see some of the sequences with the Inquisitor, the one that we've never seen before, and she's on the built like rooftop, and you see like the neon lettering, and you see Obi-Wan with a blaster trying to like shoot somebody. And that's kind of the groundwork to how this show gets started. And that's kind of the extent of the leaks. From what it is, I think it's the first episode or two. Nothing beyond that other than Vader doesn't show up until the end of episode 3. And there's a major climax that apparently took them like something like 6 months to shoot in the final episode. And that's end of spoilers. That's as much stuff as I've read.
Yeah, I mean, somebody's going to be annoyed that they listened to that, and they're going to be like, that ruined it for me. But I mean, really, there's not a whole lot there. You know what, though? It makes sense. I think it's a good move, and I hope that that's accurate, because like you need something on the level of importance of like the other kid getting kidnapped for Obi-Wan to leave. Like otherwise, it's kind of like it had to be a good reason, or it's just weird and it doesn't seem to fit with his mission from that he got in episode 3. So I like that aspect of it. I'm kind of worried about seeing kid Leia like that they hopefully they don't make her
she's sassy. She's very sassy from the leaks. Very, very sassy.
I don't know. And she's going to be like always the smartest person in the room.
Yes, 100%. 100%. Oh, 100%. Like you've nailed it, Chris. I guess
almost
I don't
like her character from Detours.
Of course, we go right back to Detours. But no,
release Detours.
Zenger, we have to go through an almost pandemic again where Lucasfilm has no content for 2 years, so that might happen again. They might consider it again. But no, it's one of those things where I think it's like anything. Like there's a story here, but it's a very, very specific story that we all kind of know what's going to happen. Of all the Star Wars stuff you could do, I don't know why we have to go to an Obi-Wan versus Vader rematch. Like we've already seen that twice. Like I really, really feel like it's just the people liked Rogue One's ending. Give them more of what they want. But like, doesn't that devalue it? It's like, no, just give them more.
Well,
I got an idea.
Yeah.
Have Obi-Wan slaughter a ton of stormtroopers.
They're not going to do that. That'd be great.
Cowards.
but he can just tell them to go away and they listen to him. So why would he do that? It's just sort of occurring to me like, so like, is the idea that the Inquisitors kidnap Leia or the Empire generally? Because
I think it's both. I think it's one of the things where I think Leia, even at a young age, is causing problems. And it's gonna be one of those things like, just like her mother, she was involved with politics really early on in her life. And I think,
please tell me it's going to be a 50s voiceover narration telling us that.
We already got that. It's called the Clone Wars. We already got that. Every episode beginning up with like a serialized voiceover.
But it just does seem kind of weird to me that like the Inquisitors are actually terrible. Like they're actually just like not good at their job, and they're annoying, and they look like goofs in this show. Like they're gonna kidnap Leia, them hanging out on Tatooine, because it's like they don't figure out that Luke's there, but they're gonna literally be in the same room as Leia and not figure out that it's Vader's kid.
Vader's in the room with Leia and can't figure out that it's Vader's kid.
Well, you don't,
because George Lucas didn't know that yet when he wrote the scene.
I know, but he doesn't. There's no context in the movie that says he didn't know that. Like, there's nothing in the script that confirms he didn't know that Leia was his kid. So,
can we please talk about
We're making a lot of
Jedi?
assumptions.
can we please talk about how even in Return of the Jedi, Lucas, like not until like editing that film, was like, yeah, Luke and Leia, I guess that's not really gonna be a thing. There is still that sequence of them like kissing in the sandstorm that was a deleted scene. I'm just like, ugh. I'm like, he really was like doubling down hard on that until editing. I can only imagine again, that was like in him and Marshall Lucas's like, oh good Lord, divorce settlement. Like, please don't make Mark and Carrie kiss anymore, George.
I like that. I hope that was laid out in the divorce proceedings.
That's the reason why we completely erased her from Star Wars history.
You know, if only he had the ability to data mine the stupid audience as much as they do now, you could have had them kissing the whole time, because apparently people want terrible things. But but you know, I just think the Inquisitors are lame. Like, I don't know.
For the record, they were explicitly made up as a villain in a cartoon show that was dreamed up in 2012. Like early 2013. Like, everybody forgets Rebels was fast tracked into development. It was like, again, Disney just bought Star Wars. They're like, okay, Clone Wars is canceled. We got to get rid of those contracts with Cartoon Network quick. And it was like, okay, we just need something. Like, Rebels was like one of the very first, if not the first, Disney Star Wars product out the door. Like, that first season, like, it's in retrospect, it was solid, but at the time it was rough. Like, nobody knew what to make of that show, because it was just, again, like, I remember everybody comparing like Wookiees in season 1 to like Clone Wars, and it's like, man, like they cut a lot of corners. And then eventually, like, it got more, and then like by the end of season 2, it got more and more ambitious. But no, that like the Inquisitors were solely there. It's just like something for the Rebels people to do, because they were afraid. They were told they couldn't really use any major Star Wars villain. So like Vader was off the table. That's what like Vader showing up at the end of season 1 was like, whoa, isn't this crazy?
Well, I mean, I think now they're using him again just because it's too direct and too weird to have him interact a bunch with Vader in this Obi-Wan show. So it's an intermediary nonsensical thing. Galen Merrick hunting down the last few Jedi being directly pointed towards them by Vader was just, I don't know. It's just far more threatening and good of a character. That one of these guys has a pirate hat like Hondo Ohnaka, and he looks really stupid. And then the Grand Inquisitor looks just like he looks like
Uncle Fester.
Yeah, something like that. He looks like he's got a bald cap on because he didn't want to shave his head for the role or something. I don't know. It looks crazy.
That's the dude who I thought you were asking me about before. He does look ridiculous in this trailer. Should I know him from somewhere? Has he appeared in anything I would have seen?
Rebels.
Okay, so
he was in the first season of Rebels, and he dies at the end of that. Then he kind of shows up in season 2. Because that's the thing about the Inquisitor. This is where this is where Rob being kind of the outsider looking in, because we have to look at this too. That like when this show debuts, it's going to drag normies into it the same way that The Mandalorian like dragged normies back into Star Wars. Like, Rob, the whole point of the Inquisitors from Star Wars, and this is where I kind of want to like, I bought Rob a copy of Jedi Fallen Order, and then like 8 months later, I got a text message at like 4 a.m. being like, Zach, this is a nightmare, like on every conceivable like level possible.
Oh, yes.
And this is the thing about the Inquisitors, Rob, is that the Inquisitors are all Jedi from Order 66 that were able to be turned to the dark side.
Okay, gotcha.
Like, basically, when it's never been laid out explicitly, it's all been kind of like explained like after the fact. But these were all Jedi that like during the purge, they were like kind of like said, nope, like I'm on your side. And they all were kind of adopted if they kind of rescinded their ways. And the Grand Inquisitor was a Jedi Temple guard.
Okay.
And that was his thing. And that's why like it ties into Jedi Fallen Order in that sense too, in that they were the major antagonist of that game. So like as much as Chris laughs at them, they are I don't want to say pillar, but they are a corner of Star Wars villains of this time period.
Sure. Okay. I think I'm caught up. It's coming back. The Jedi Fallen Order thing is coming back to me because isn't there something about the people you fight or something, and they're like, oh, come work with us, main character person.
That's the thing. So like the whole point of the Inquisitors is that like, okay, they're Jedi hunters. It's the notion of that like there's still Jedi out there that survive the purge, and their job is to just find them and weed them out. If they can be turned, go for it. But if they can't, like, okay, they have to die immediately.
Yeah.
And that's why you get, like, in Jedi Fallen Order, you have, oh god, Trilla, the second sister. Oh god, the one that's like the big brute that, like, every time we see her, like, keeps getting like different augmentation. And then the whole point though is that, like, if they can't, and this is what happens even in Rebels, is that when they can't handle something, it's like, okay, Vader has to get directly involved now. And that's why Jedi Fallen Order ends the way it does, in that, like, okay, the second sister fails, so Vader immediately has to get involved.
Yes. To be fair, in Jedi Fallen Order, Deborah Wilson is quite powerful. She goes like toe to toe with Vader at the end of it, from what I remember.
Well, you mean Seer, the one that was like kind of like the master to Cal Calrissian?
Yeah, it is Deborah Wilson. It's voiced by and modeled after Deborah Wilson from Mad TV, and that's all I could see her as.
And that's the thing. So, like, it works. It checks out in Star Wars continuity. There's really nothing jarring there. But that's the thing though, is that, like, what is Vader doing in this time period? Because, like, really, Zenger knows, like, what Lords of the Sith is one of the things Vader's doing.
That happens around this time.
Yeah, and like Vader's
that happens around this.
Dr. Aphra.
Yeah, possible. Oh, God. That's the thing. They keep on tweaking the timeline all the time slightly.
Because Vader's also doing the whole thing with, like, Vader Immortal. Like, you have the whole thing with, like, the castle and trying to bring Padme back to life. That's happening during the same time.
Yep, you got that going on too. And also he's kind of being, I don't know, Palpatine's up to something during this time, just sitting there just plotting.
He's cloning himself. He's just constantly hitting. Yeah. He's constantly just cloning himself somewhere.
When is he making Snoke?
Control V. I mean, Control V. Control V.
Let's put them in the brine. Put them in the brine. This one's good.
Yeah.
Chris, you like, okay, so all this being said, like, you get the point I'm getting at, right?
That it canonically makes sense, sure, but, like, you're gonna go to the trouble of getting Ewan McDonald to play Obi-Wan again and get everyone sort of emotionally engaged in that and excited. But, like, in the context of Obi-Wan's story, which is mostly in the saga films, it's really random to have a bunch of these new Jedi hunters, like, pop out of the woodwork. This is where everything being canon gets weird, because they add stuff for one particular property like Rebels, and now it doesn't make sense if they don't use it here.
One of them's dead already.
One of who?
Sorry, I'm like, it just dawned back on me. I'm like, Ahsoka killed one of them, if I remember correctly.
That hasn't happened yet.
I thought it did by now.
No, Rebels season 2.
No.
Like right
she
before...
kills one in her book.
Well, that's possible, yeah. But that's the whole thing about the Inquisitors, is that, like Vader and the Emperor don't really care. They're meant as fodder. Like, they are there to sit there. They're almost like they're attack dogs, like, on the hunt. And, like, that's what they are. They're there to weed the Jedi out for, like, and if it gets bad enough, then Vader gets involved.
And they're so annoying too. Like, who even cares if they get dispatched? Like,
that's the point. They're
big
kind of
orange one.
villains.
Oh man, that big orange one from Fallen Order. That was unbearable. Just listening to them talk. But I mean, Trilla was kind of a good character.
No, Trilla. No, like I said, and this is the thing. Like, Jedi Fallen Order, as much as I crapped on that game from like 2+ years ago, when I finally got around to playing it, I still think, like, Disney era storytelling, it's like a top 3, because that game actually tried to do something different. It tried, like, even like with what. Marin, the Night Sister, and oh god, the guy like on the other planet.
Oh, she's my favorite character. Night Sister Marin was great. I have like multiple notes that just say she's fun. I don't really remember why, but I really liked her.
Exactly, and like she goes through the entire thing that happened, like when Grievous wiped them all out during the Clone Wars. No, like Fallen Order was solid, and you can even. And the fun thing too is that there's even like remnants of Colin Trevorrow Episode 9 in that game, because like Tor Valum was meant to be. I haven't played a game in 2 years. But like Tor Valum came from a lot of the stuff that game was laying out. No, Fallen Order, like I said, that's the thing that's kind of interesting about this time period, is that, like, I want more of the Calrissian stuff. Like, I want to see, like, okay, he could be operating in this time period. They had not really tied off his story in any way. So I doubt I'd be shocked if he shows up in this. I don't think they'll do that, but he clearly is.
Maybe he's the Jedi that gets killed.
No, it's not him. It's not him.
I'm with Zenger on this one, because that's wishful thinking, I believe.
No.
They got to kill him off and make Marin the main character in the next game. That's what I want.
Oh dear, but no, like that's the thing. Like it's all like kind of like Chris said. Like it feels again, it's like every other Disney Star Wars thing. Like it's an unnecessary story. Like, do we need to hear this story? they already told it. It's the oh god, was it the Jonathan Jackson Miller book? I think the first name might be wrong. That they released a few right after Disney bought Star Wars, the Kenobi book. That's the thing. Most Obi-Wan Kenobi stories in this time period are gangster stories. I even bought this. Like Zenger will appreciate this. I bought it's a collection of like some of the Obi-Wan comics, Disney era, and it's just miscellaneous though. But like it's the first. Well, I think it's one of the first appearances of Black Chrysanthemum, and it's just meant to be all these little stories. Again, Obi-Wan during this time period is not supposed to have any grand adventures. And what they're doing is it's the typical Disney Star Wars thing of we're going to take 1 or 2 lines of dialogue from a movie and we're going to make 6 hours of content out of it. And you're really stretching it thin. I'm not saying it won't be entertaining, but I have a very, very strong feeling this is going to probably be more on the Book of Boba Fett side of things than the Rogue One. There's a reason why, especially everybody hates movies right now for some inexplicable reason, that it's more concise, it's more potent, as opposed to drawing something out for 6 hours. It's kind of like, should we have an over-under bet on if we get a flashback of Obi-Wan being the one that saves Big Whiskey from the Jedi Temple? Like is there do we we all know Big Whiskey now is the official crutch of Disney Star Wars. Like, we are going to get Order 66 flashbacks in this. We kind of know that. I could see this being another crutch for them. They need their marketing angle. And as we know, after the Book of Boba Fett, they have no shame in just picking up something else from a completely different show and running with it for 2 episodes.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying, and well, one, Zach, I want to say people hate movies now because they're way too long, and American theaters don't have intermissions. I think that's a big problem because you can pause your television shows at home. But no, I think this goes back to what you guys were just talking about. Makes me think of something you said earlier in this conversation, Zach, that the normies are going to come out for this, and that's kind of how I've seen Book of Boba Fett and Mandalorian is where they were like, oh hey, look at this. It looks Mandalorian was like, this looks like Boba Fett. Don't you want to watch it? And everybody kind of came out for it and stuck around because they liked it. This seems to be the same thing where they're saying, oh look, remember Ewan McGregor, the quite possibly what I know is one of the things that everybody agrees on that they like from the prequels. Normies, I guess, is what I'm talking about. And so that's going to say, hey, that's going to draw them in, and then they're going to throw in all this other stuff like the Inquisitors, like the other things you guys mentioned and stuff of that nature.
I also think a lot of this comes down to the current thing that we have. And again, it's not just Disney, but it's like, why are the Inquisitors here? They're there so people will be forced to go look at Rebels. Yeah. And how will people watch Rebels? They need a Disney Plus like subscription. So people won't just simply sign up for like the day after this series ends, binge it in a weekend and move on. It's the idea is that it's meant to force people to be invested in the other content.
Exactly. Yeah, that's you put it great there. It's all that synergy, and I mean that's how I see it. That type of thing. The master manipulation of Disney. That whole idea of it.
But I don't know. Like I said, go ahead.
Here's the problem. I've been thinking about it, and I think I've stated this before, but I'm going to state it again. Obviously, Big Whiskey is saved by Shock T. So that she can get killed. So that she can get killed saving him, once again, keeping her title of most dead character in cinema history.
She's the Kenny of Star Wars.
Don't worry, in a few years we'll retcon to where she gets killed a different way.
I get behind that.
But that's the thing. Like, Chris, what is best case scenario of the show for you?
Blind difference.
No, I'm really preoccupied with how they're going to play out his interaction with Vader. I don't want it to be one of those things where you really have to imagine it doesn't exist when you watch episode 1 to 6 the next time. You know what I mean? I don't want to have to force it out of my brain because it's so jarring and illogical in that continuity, because that's the continuity that matters. Those 6 movies in a row. It doesn't to Disney, but that's the one that matters in a historical cultural context, Zach, not a Disney context. So in terms of our growth as a human culture, that's the 6 parts of this story that matter. And this is right in the middle of it. And it's got a whole bunch of Disney era weirdness to it. And The sentence "rematch of the century" is a horrifying sentence in that context.
It is, because I told you. I remember we did an entire episode on it, like before Chris was even involved. But he was just spectator Chris at that point, not participant Chris. And like we did an entire episode on it. And I'm like, nothing good's gonna come from this scene. Like I'm deliberately butchering it. 1138 reimagined, where like it's just all this weird CGI like fighting, like interspliced with like 1976 footage. And it's like, oh no, like they're going to learn the wrong lessons from this going viral. They are going to learn the wrong lessons. And that's what they did.
It's also because you have the Kenobi novel, which is like a whole lot of Tatooine gang and Tusken Raider drama, which they've already burnt themselves out on. So they can't make the Kenobi show about that because they've given us 3 seasons of Tusken Raider drama on other shows.
Real quick, I have to bring this up because Russ will appreciate this. In this, whatever this comic was, again, actually, it's not just one comic. Like it's a bunch of just random Obi-Wan Kenobi like stories from like miscellaneous Star Wars comics. In this, there's a point where Obi-Wan is like in his first like couple of years on Tatooine. He's like in a marketplace on Tatooine, and he's trying to sell the little black orbs that like manifest in the dirt that have like water in them. And he's like, no, there's water in here. The Tuskens drink them. And I'm like, man, like we laugh at Disney, but they are like, you know what? They are following their own continuity. Like they're consistent in a very specific sense.
You know what's crazy about like pointless continuity type Tatooine references that I thought of recently? I was this is the kind of things you when you get into those YouTube recommendation funks where I was watching a let's play of the funk. I was watching a let's play of the 1999 Phantom Menace game, which there's all kinds of insane dialogue and random character interactions in that game.
Wait, Power Battle?
No, just the actual movie game. Mos Espa in that game is some of the funniest official Star Wars game that's ever happened. Just like the dialogue triggers that happen when they're walking through Mos Espa in that game are nuts. This shows I'm really a fake fan because playing as Qui-Gon, he bumped into some character in Mos Espa, and there was a reference to dung worms, which I believe Pelimoto feeds Big Whiskey in the Book of Boba Fett. And I'm like,
you're correct.
Has dung worms been a thing in Star Wars for more than 20 years? Like, is that really they're actually pulling that out of the archives and using it in a new show? I thought that was just something terrible they just made up. It was just weird to hear it in a 22-year-old game.
I'm watching the scene 38 reimagined right now, and it's got a lot of views.
Exactly, that's the problem.
And a lot of the comments are Zach's wrong.
I don't. Maybe when you guys
put that on the background,
okay.
Rob, and just like do a Zenger, have it playing in the background. You tell me if this isn't the brainchild for a 6-part series that probably cost them $150 million.
I wish I was the brainchild for this stuff. It's good.
So just while Rob brings that up, I also want to mention, in the 1999 Phantom Menace game, there's another part where Qui-Gon arbitrarily walks into an apartment that he has no association with, and inside is Max Rebo in a hot tub with 2 prostitutes, and there's
perfect,
and there's dialogue, and there is dialogue that explicitly states that is the situation.
Okay, I was about to ask. I was like, how do we know they're prostitutes?
Hello, handsome. I have another job right now, but maybe we'll get together later. We're going to lose our fee if you don't leave.
Business seems to be thriving here.
That game is wild.
Okay, so you I think you just said it, Zach, but this was my other. I said that I had 2 things written down about the Kenobi trailer. One was the line I already mentioned. My other was, what does Disney mean by a limited series? And so you said it's going to be 6 parts. Is that's been released? Yeah. That's official? Okay. Does the limited series mean what it usually means for things where it's like there's not going to be a season 2 or anything? Of course, it's Disney, so they're going to pull out whatever the hell they want, But is that the plan? Is it for it to be like a one-shot, like just 6-episode arc and they're done?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
It's one of those where it's like, nope, it's a one-off until it's successful, and then here comes
exactly. Okay.
I swear Book of Boba Fett was supposed to be a limited series, but
Well, it's all limited until it becomes popular.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It's there to sit there, create like, oh man, like you better get on board now.
No, it's not a limited series. This amazing Scene 38 reimagined.
Don't stop saying that. Every time you say it's amazing, they're going to add another episode onto this limited series.
Oh no! See, the best part is most of the comments are Zack's wrong. I mean, am I typing them and putting them in right now? Yeah.
Zenger has bought a click farm or a bot farm to just spam comments on this video.
Who's this Zack person? What is he wrong about so much?
Zenger, I mean, if I were to expect anything, I would expect the rematch of the century to be at least as good as that YouTube clip. So I'm
at least.
I'm excited for you and terrified for me.
Almost 40 million views. That's at least more than Obi-Wan Kenobi trailer has at the moment.
It had a few years.
I mean,
to get there.
Rob, check my math on that.
That 39 million is bigger than 3 million? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
That is what we call in mathematics an unsolved problem. I believe there's a monetary prize if you can figure out which number's bigger.
Well, we may never know.
So I'm just watching this without the sound on, but
perfect.
You know, I think
the sound doesn't make it any better.
Sure. I definitely get what Zack is saying is that there's a jarring nature between the CGI that's used to reimagine this fight with the intercut of the older footage. I mean, but, you know, as I watch this, and don't get me wrong, I haven't seen episode 4 in a very long time. I probably couldn't even tell you when I watched it last, so my memory of the actual fight that's in there is probably lacking. But, you know, this looks to me like something I know we've talked about a lot before, whether it be on here or Cinemoddities. This looks like the Marvelization of things. It's just flashy colors and fighting and CGI and just everything's going fast. And I personally don't want that.
Well,
then you don't want good cinema.
Zenger, I love movies where it's just like people sitting and talking for 2 hours.
Listen, we all appreciate Quentin Tarantino's work, but at some point you gotta have an Inglourious Bastards moment.
I want to go even
farther. He's
just
sitting there and talking to people. In a different language.
I want to go even farther. I told Zack about this. I love the movie A Ghost Story. There is a 10-minute scene where Kate Mara sits on the floor and eats an entire pie in silence, while Casey Affleck stares at her in the background with a sheet over his head, and it is wonderful.
Whoa, Rob, correction. Rooney Mara.
Is it Rooney Mara? It is Rooney Mara. Oh, I had Kate Mara on the brain for some reason.
But it should be noted that, like, much like Rob said, like, it's just like this entire Scene 38 reimagined thing is just like glowy colors and like
fast cuts.
Yes. And that, like, think about it, the only leak we got of this show, like of this show officially, is toys, and it's an Obi-Wan Kenobi lightsaber and a Darth Vader lightsaber. And I think that tells you all you need to know. Like, that's the only merchandise that's leaked. And not to make this into another toy discussion that's going to go on for 45 minutes. But, like, the fact that it's just 2 role-playing toys is what's leaked tells you what it is that they're focused on. Like, what they think, let me rephrase that. Not what they're focused on, but what they think is marketable.
Well, I mean, they literally showed a concept art photo of the 2 of them fighting in the, like, preview interview video from, like, 2 years ago.
I remember that, the concept art. So I really, really, I don't know what their end game is for this. I really don't.
So there's a shot it's just after the 4.5 minute mark in this Scene 38 reimagined where Obi-Wan like force pushes Darth Vader, and it looks like somebody had like a PNG file of Darth Vader and clicked it and dragged it out of screen. Like, it is one of the worst effects I've ever seen. Yeah, this is not good. This is not good.
Well, Rob, it was made by a nerd in his basement, most likely. I don't actually know that for a fact, but
good for him. Props for him. I'm not saying I could do it better or anything, but I mean, you know, as the idiotic critic that I am, this is not interesting.
But guess what, Rob? If you're an executive at Disney, you literally just wrote a 9-figure check to this.
Jesus.
Could you imagine? You know how they made a news story out of the fact that they hired deep fake guy who didn't even have a real name. He had like an internet name. He was like, that's how much of a deep fake guy he was. He had like a made up like street internet name when they hired him. Like, could you imagine like they make a story out of like, we hired the Scene 38 guy for the fight in the Obi-Wan show because like obviously our crew is just not, they don't have the imaginative juice that these internet nerds have.
Hey, everybody who has any sort of like potency and imagination's working on the Galactic Star Cruiser. They're all there choreographing the Rey Kylo Ren fight.
Well, of course it's in the name of their job titles.
So the love for this Scene 38 reimagined, as I'm looking at the comments, and don't get me wrong, I'm well aware, everybody, that the YouTube comments are a cesspool, but it seems that the love for this, which is overwhelming, most of the comments I'm seeing are, positive, they come across as people projecting their thoughts and love for this, however old movie, 50-year-old or, almost 50-year-old movie. Like this comment, for example, from user Spider-Man. I love
the Spider-Man.
It literally, the YouTube name is Spider-Man.
Wow. So, does it clarify which Spider-Man?
No, but the profile picture is an animated, like a cartoon, like a comic capture. But the comment is, I love how Obi-Wan actually looks like he's fighting for his life and Vader is fighting for revenge. There's nothing inherently in a vacuum that conveys that in what I've seen of this clip so far. That is entirely projecting what you believe that duel is about onto something that's flashier and newer, right?
I think the implication is that in the original movie, Obi-Wan does not look terribly bothered by anything that's going on. But I mean, I don't know if I would agree with that assessment, but
different Alleganus did not realize at the time that this would be mined for the next 50 plus years for content.
Yeah. Do you think he was angry that he couldn't perform this lightsaber duel while sitting on a log?
I'm sure he enjoyed getting paid 10 times as much to sit on a log 2 years later.
Talk about a wonderful performance. This one's good. This is a good comment. The reason Vader won is because of his robotic legs, which make him taller, thus giving him the high ground. Yeah, a lot of these positive comments are very like projection, I think. I mean, I can't at least see any comments that are giving actual like positive criticism.
Well, Rob, it's hard to give your actors direction and emotion when the Alec Guinness face in Scene 38 Reimagined is a PNG that got mapped onto a 3D model. So it's hard to really tell him what sort of feelings to project.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, but this is something I keep trying to figure out with this show. Is that, like, it looks interesting, at least. Like, it's more exciting than anything we ever got from Book of Boba Fett marketing. But I don't know if that's because of the music, Ewan McDonald, or just because it's the idea of getting a character who we've not seen as a focal point in 17 years.
I think that goes back to what I was saying about the Ewan McGregor or Obi-Wan Kenobi as he is in the prequels, drawing people in and things like that. And then it's also interesting to hear that, there is some knowledge of Vader showing up, because I think this gets to what you were saying, Chris, about this continuity as it's jammed in between the prequels and the original trilogy. Is that, is that something, well, of course, that, fan service or the normies want to see the things they know, like Obi-Wan fight Vader and stuff like that. But is that really what you guys or the diehard fans want to see? But it kind of seems like no, because, well, that's what I don't really understand, because, you guys are saying what's like, oh, Chris, you were like, only the movie continuity matters, and so why are we jamming new stuff in between them? And then so the other side of the coin is if they don't jam in that continuity, they're going to throw in the stuff that the normies don't know, like the Inquisitors, but it seems like you're not happy with that either. But this also might be the curse of the Star Wars fan, which I know we've talked about, is that they're going to hate everything.
Whoa, hold on a second. Rob, hold on. Whoa, wait. Did you unlock the well-kept secret that you can't please Star Wars fans? Oh, my. Okay, we did it.
No, I didn't unlock it here. We statistically proved it from that study, however many years ago that episode was.
I'm just saying, it is, you have 3 Star Wars fans and a Rob here right now, and none of us are happy. With ourselves, with each other.
Hey, see yourself. I'm content with myself. I'm content. I'm not happy, but I'm content.
Well, they're, if they love
And the
using,
book of Boba Fett.
they love using Vader and Boba Fett so much, but we're on a fast track to knowing what they were up to at every moment of their entire lives. I think, in the next 10 years or so, we'll have a good snapshot of every 6 months of Darth Vader's career, because it's not a very long career as Darth Vader. So it's like you're sort of going to have to establish, and they can't help themselves but do these like minor redesigns and stuff, and it's just going to be a mess of spaghetti at some point. And we can be pleased as Star Wars fans. It's just it literally, you'd think in going on 50 years they would have been able to approach it in a way that made sense, but Lucas's role with the prequels was just to put some movies out that we knew where they were headed. If Lucas had gone and made a sequels to the original trilogy instead of the prequels, that's an experiment that we'll never know the answer to, whether that would have been culturally well received or not.
Sure.
But because that never happened, and then he sort of passed on the franchise to another handler, there's this desire to sort of use the established media as a crutch. And you could say that the sequels are branching out creatively, but they're really heavily reliant on established characters anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And there hasn't been a level, like top tier, all the money you could imagine attempt at presenting a new story that's far enough away from those movies. And this is just another example of that, where we know where it's headed. It's hard to be super dramatically engaged in it, because I'm more concerned about them doing something distasteful rather than what the actual narrative is. That's a problem for me. I don't know. I could do with a movie. It's amazing to me that they find time to do filler nonsense when they only have 6 hours of content. Like the Book of Boba Fett, if you would have told me how much dead air there would be in that short of a series, I would have been shocked. It should have just been a movie. I'm expecting to like some of this stuff where Obi-Wan is just slumming around the desert doing nonsense, because that's what he should be doing the whole time. I'm kind of worried about the rest.
Well, that's the thing. But again, this goes back to like the Book of Boba Fett like dilemma, where like the most interesting parts of that show that involved Boba Fett were him like in his little shenanigans in like the desert with the Tuskens. Like that was the narrative like sweet spot, and the most boring aspect of him of that show was him just wandering around Mos Espa with a bunch of teenagers. And that's the thing about this, is that like I would, again, like it's gonna be fun seeing Ewan McDonald do his thing, and like again him like saying all the classic Obi-Wan lines.
I love that.
But like, are we, again, it's gonna be like how much of this is gonna be on his shoulders? Like I don't think, is he gonna be in every single scene? Like, as we all know, it's called the Book of Boba Fett, and Boba Fett was not really the exclusive focus. So, like, are we going to sit there and have that where, are we going to have moments where the story walks away from Boba Fett and we are not, I'm sorry, from Obi-Wan, and we don't see him? Like, we all, again, are we going to have this new Inquisitor lady? Is she going to be the focus of it? Like, is she going to be the antagonistic foil?
Early prediction on her is that she will turn out to be, like, not so bad after all, because the rest of the Inquisitors have that sort of excessive Emperor Palpatine dark side physical corruption look that she really doesn't have. Like those guys are like, those guys look like Frankenstein's monster, and she looks like a normal human. Even Trilla was starting to look a little bit Palpatine-ish, and she was just on the line really, right? But she was getting chalky looking and getting the yellow eyes. So I think that she's either a double agent, or she's not quite converted yet, or it's a situation where the actor is just a pain. And it's kind of like in Christopher Plummer in Star Trek 6, where he's like, you're not giving me that level 10 Klingon makeup. Tone it down a little bit for me. I'm not wearing that crazy stuff. I'm going to look like mostly a regular dude. It might be that situation, but I think it's more like she's going to come around or have some interaction with Obi-Wan.
Probably.
Where it's revealed that she's not that terrible.
Sure. But again, I just don't know how you draw this out for like roughly 6 hours of content. Like I like you said, outside of it just being filler. And that's the thing. Like it was one thing when Rebels was like 22 episodes long, and you get a couple of those kind of just like episodes that dragged on that were just kind of there for no reason other than to tread water. How do you do that for a 6-episode show? And I think Book of Boba Fett is proof of that, where it's like literally there's stuff that just doesn't matter happening. And when they ran out of material, they just went to a completely different character for 2 episodes.
Well, I hope they spend a solid episode dealing with like Joel Edgerton and Bonnie Peace, just because it's like there's definitely something interesting that you can do to sort of establish Uncle Owen's distaste for Obi-Wan in an interesting way. Like you can have some there's Uncle Owen says a lot of stuff in episode 4 that you could read too much into if you were looking to make 6 episodes about Obi-Wan that take place before that movie. So even Luke talking with Obi-Wan in his hut, filling in some of the nonsense that Uncle Owen had fed him over the years about Anakin being a navigator on a spice freighter and stuff like that. There's room to sort of build Uncle Owen's perspective on the whole situation, because it's still something like 10 years until we get to that point, and that sort of forms Luke's character a little bit.
Yeah,
so that's interesting stuff.
That is interesting. I mean, this is what I like to hear, the stuff I don't remember at all from the movies, and that, Uncle Soon Dead and Aunt Gonna Bite It is definitely something that doesn't get fleshed out and could get fleshed out. My question for you guys is, though, with what they did with Book of Boba Fett, where it turned into a backdoor, for Mandalorian season 3 or whatever it was, do you think that every single Star Wars show that comes out on Disney Plus for the future will have episodes just dedicated to The Mandalorian? Like if we hit episode 4 of Kenobi, Ewan McGregor will not be in it, and it will just follow the Mandalorian.
But like it'll be a time jump where it just takes place in the timeline of the Mandalorian show.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he'd be like 14 at the time of the Obi-Wan show. So
how the entire show is bookended, it's before Big Whiskey goes back to Mandalorian. It's Luke reading him Obi-Wan's journal. That's the framing device for all this.
No, I said he finds a holocron, and like that's how it's all flashbacks through that holocron.
Zenger, that episode didn't come out yet, and Zach hasn't heard it. All right.
Oh crap! We finally did. I mentioned something on an episode Zach was on that's an unreleased episode.
Yeah.
Oh no, we've done it.
No, he beat the game. All right.
I'm Inception.
Yeah, but I hope Obi-Wan didn't save Grogu, because Ahsoka, Luke, and Obi-Wan should all be way more interested in what Grogu's up to. They're rather uninterested in that whole situation.
I think they look at like a Big Whiskey, and they're like, this is a creature that, good Lord, like by the time it can is barely toilet trained, like we'll be dead. Right? Like think about that. Luke, okay, what? The Mandalorian is 6 years after the events of Return of the Jedi, which means 25 years later, Luke is dead. So like, think about it. What is 25 years after Big Whiskey when we see him? Like he can at most an adolescent. So like, I would imagine that by the time Big Whiskey is an adult, he's barely cognizant that he knew Luke Skywalker. Oh, that's the guy who took care of me for a weekend. Like,
I'm not saying he should care. I'm saying the Jedi should be more interested in what is clearly Yoda's illegitimate son.
What if we get something where it's like he turns into Yoda or something, like it's like a causality loop.
No. I'm not getting time travel. We already have vague enough time travel.
We need time. Star Wars needs time travel, if anything.
It has it, and it's confusing and annoying.
It needs more of it.
It doesn't have to be time travel. It's like Gandalf when he gets teleported back because space Lord of the Rings God says he has more work to do.
Yeah,
I mean, however they have to rationalize it,
Ugh.
The ultimate seal of approval. Nothing says I'm excited for something.
Yeah, but I'm saying if Obi-Wan knew about Grogu, like I'd bet my money on the Jedi's safe return on that kid rather than Luke and Leia. That's all I'm saying.
Could we just establish that maybe the Jedi were wrong?
It's time for the Jedi to end. No, Zenger, you're not allowed to say that.
I'm
Jedi
sorry.
Good.
I'm sorry. Last Jedi was good. Are we just going to continue to ignore?
You are not allowed. 4 years later, you are not allowed to say that, Zenger. Get off of here. Slash Jedi
I
bad,
think
Ruin Johnson evil.
I think Book of Boba Fett proved Luke is not a good teacher.
I think Luke just doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah,
he's like an office temp with a bad attitude.
he's like an office temp, and with drastically different mood swings and facial expressions, or lack thereof.
Did you guys talk about in that last episode about the idea that Luke just puts him like in an X-wing and basically tells R2 get him out of here? Like that's kind of like it's kind of equivalent if you go like to like a car dealership and like when you first walk in like, oh wow, like what can we do for you? And then when they tell like when you say yeah I'm not interested, they're like yeah okay, like okay bye. Like that's what it felt like. It's like okay, like it was the idea like then you show you're not interested. It's like nope, you're done.
Yeah, it's crazy how uninterested he is. He's like, you know what? I have to supervise the piling up of some rocks. So I'm going to...
It was the show he was not upset, but he was disappointed.
Piling up with some rocks. Oh my God, that's funny. Okay, I think we've kind of tapped out this discussion for at least for Kenobi nonsense.
We tapped out this discussion when we gave our one-sentence review.
I don't know. Like I said, it's gonna be interesting. It's like, okay, do you think because again, like what this show is a little over 2 months away? Are we gonna get any Vader in the marketing, or is that gonna be something they hide?
I think you're going to get a little bit if he shows up in episode 3. If he's not just literally a fight in the last episode, you'll get something more in the marketing, I think.
Okay.
I think they're going to do Rogue One marketing where you just see him turn again.
Does he reuse the Rogue One footage?
Oh, yeah. I was about to say, no, actually just reuse the Rogue One clip, but reverse it and see if anyone notices. Who am I kidding? With Star Wars nerds, of course they'll notice the second it goes up.
Yep. The YouTube mill will start churning immediately.
Are you excited for prosthetic burn victim Hayden Christensen partially wearing a helmet acting?
All the time.
Because okay, there's supposedly also going to be Clone Wars flashbacks in this, so we're going to see like Ewan McDonald and Hayden Christensen like in the like cartoon like attire.
Yay!
With like the shoulder plates and like the skirts. Chris is just like shaking his head hard.
It's new toys.
Exactly. It's gonna be.
Yep.
Where is it? Do I have them up here still? Okay, perfect. Like talk about like now I feel like Chris. I have toys within finger like tips. It's legit. You're gonna get this. This is what you're gonna get, everybody. This is what you're going to get.
There we go. All right. Or this.
Another
not really.
Toy I gave Zenger. He's got a fat head. He's got a fat head just like the Inquisitor.
Hey, that would save them from having to de-age him.
Just having him wearing a helmet the entire time.
Yeah.
I think with what you just said, Zach, I mean, you just said there's going to be like Clone Wars flashbacks. This episode's just going to be 6 episodes of potpourri. First episode's going to be Ewan McGregor on Tatooine. Second episode's entirely going to take place in the Clone Wars. Third episode's going to be following the Mandalorian. Like it's they don't care. They're just going to throw everything at the wall. You know, it's like spaghetti.
No, that's where you're wrong, Rob. It's going to be following the Mandalorian in present day for the Mandalorian. For him, so it's going to be him and Big Whiskey doing something.
Oh, absolutely. No, I honestly think that they're going to, like the episode 4, because you're talking about Vader showing up as episode 3. I'll give you that. Episode 4 of the Obi-Wan Kenobi show is going to be following the Mandalorian and Big Whiskey, and it's going to be like Mandalorian season 1, episode 3.5. It's going to take place between episode 3 and episode 4 of the first season of Mandalorian. They don't care about any of this. They just want to jam in as much as they possibly can.
It's funny,
I'm saying I want to throw on tease. I'm throwing it out there now. And if I don't get that, I will be blindly indifferent.
Well, it's actually funny Rob mentions that, but like I could see now that like it's brought up under that sort of lens, I could very well see like an entire episode of this Obi-Wan Kenobi thing being a flashback to the Clone Wars.
Yeah, definitely.
An entire episode devoted to that. And there you go. There's a 6 of your runtime.
Mm-hmm.
Or is that going to be the equivalent of the flashbacks from Book of Boba Fett, where that's half the show is flashbacks to the Clone Wars?
I think that
why he's in a bath to tank.
I hope it'd be cost prohibitive for that to be half the show.
He breaks into Jabba's palace to use the bacta tank that's obviously in Jabba's palace.
What if one of the episodes of the Kenobi show is just like, I'm assuming they're going to be, 45 minutes long, maybe 30 minutes long, that type of thing. Just a 30-minute scene from one of the original trilogy movies, like unedited, they just replay the Jabba's palace scene or something like that. I could see it.
Perfect.
They literally reshoot Attack of the Clones just to have the Obi-Wan Kenobi parts.
Oh, god dang it.
It's just Cypher Diaz. It's a smash cut every time Cypher Diaz has said on loop for 30 minutes.
People might be surprised that we haven't got hotter takes, but I don't think you can really glean a ton from this trailer, except it's two words. It's like Obi-Wan on Tatooine and Inquisitor's exclamation mark. I think it's going to go a ton of places that they haven't even alluded to yet and that haven't leaked yet.
Like space.
Yeah, you might actually get a spaceship in space, unlike the Book of Boba Fett in this Star Wars.
Do we get X-Wing? Do we get Trapper Wolf? That's the real question. Do we get the Favrolorian? Trapper Wolf shows up. He's the one who saves Leia, not Obi-Wan.
And Grogu. He also saves Grogu.
From
Shakti as she's dying.
Well, Rob, can you please give both Chris and Zenger a re-enlightenment? Who is this character they keep saying? I don't know their name.
Oh, Big Whiskey? I think that's who they're referencing. Yes.
Yeah, Big Whiskey. I don't know what the hell they're talking about. It's Big Whiskey.
Right.
Yeah, I was confused as well. Definitely.
I just want to segue real quick because this could very well be its own discussion. But Rob, in 2 sentences, 3 if you have to, why is it that you hate Jedi Fallen Order? Forget about game mechanics. Game mechanics, I will concede because the game mechanics were very, very, very clunky.
Yeah.
Is there? Yes, I know, Rob. You had to watch a tutorial. Rob had to put YouTube on one day in order to get past a certain part in a level.
God. And if astute listeners, if you want to dive down the rabbit hole of YouTube and looking at walkthroughs for collectibles, I have left under my own personal YouTube account, so it's not under An Insperiority Complex or anything like that, or Cinemoddities, very, very angry comments about how the people who made those tutorials are idiots, and the tutorials are garbage, and they should feel bad about how poorly they put them together. And so if anybody finds it, feel free to check it out. On a grand scale, I don't know if the Knights of Vader audience knows this, I have a hate relationship with video games. You ever seen that meme where it looks like a utopian society, and it'll say something like, the world if blank never existed? I fundamentally believe that we would be in a much better place as a species if video games never existed. I won't get into why I hate video games with a seething passion. This is not to say I don't play video games, though. I think something that the Knights of Vader KOV audience does know is that I have an incredibly addictive personality. Whenever I do anything, whether it be a video game or anything, I have to do it to completion. I have something I think I'm at 80 or 85 platinums on my Sony PlayStation Network account. If anybody wants to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel with me, my name is Led Newstat on the PlayStation Network. But I mean, I could run through the list of everything I have, but I won't because I know that is boring. But I've done it all, It's I have, and I'm not talking just platinum, I'm talking 100%, DLCs and everything. I've done Skyrim and The Witcher 3, I've spent the time playing through Kingdom Hearts games multiple times, I've done Geometry Wars 3, which I swear to God was like smoking a pack of cigarettes to the face every time I played it, because it's so stressful. I've done the easy things, I have done all of Lego Star Wars The Force Awakens, because the Lego games are great because you can't die. The best video game of all time, and maybe this will put it in perspective, the greatest video game ever created is something called Abzu, A-B-Z-U.
Hot take coming up from me.
It is aquarium simulator. All you do is swim around and look at fish, and it is wonderful. You can't die, there's no challenge, it's fantastic. The only reason
I'm playing Lawnmower Simulator, and that is You have to impress that game. It's not here to impress you. You are here to impress it.
I do have 100% on Goat Simulator. That's a terrible game. They're all terrible games. What am I saying? I'm number 5 in the world for the speed run of Subnautica. Just so everybody knows that. Number 5. Well, I haven't checked in a while, but number 5 in the world for Subnautica. I've done The Witness, the line puzzle game. I've done it all. Enter the Gungeon, so I'm a bullet hell person. There's no game I won't play, but I hate every minute I am playing video games. That's very subjective. The greatest video game ever to exist that I would actually love is one where I purchase it, I start it, it unlocks all the trophies, I don't have to do anything. That's all I want. On a philosophical level, I hate video games because I have enough problems in my life that I don't need to pay for more. But Zack bought me Jedi Fallen Order, as he said, and he was like, Rob, if I buy this for you, will you play it? And I had to fall back on one of our common phrases, I will, but I'm not going to like it, that type of thing. And I did. Zack already mentioned I started it on... I take copious notes, of course, everyone knows. November 17th, 2021. I hated it. It crashed, it glitched out. There was stupid stuff where the game was not telling me what I should do. Like in the tutorial, it's something like, they want you to block a stormtrooper's blaster bolt, and I just kept killing stormtroopers, and I killed like 50, and I was like, why can't I progress? And then it was like, it was like, oh, you gotta block it, and I was like, I don't care, game, The other thing I should say, I don't play any video game except Guitar Hero with the volume on. I despise listening to video games. I listen to my own music, not music I make, but like music I want to hear. I don't listen to any video game, period. So I was in a bad headspace in November 17th. I was really against video games. Zack mentioned the text where I was like, this is the worst thing I've ever experienced. And that was November 17th. I came back to it on December 13th, so about a month later. And from December 13th until... Let me just get to the bottom of my notes. December 27th, I did everything in the game. So I got my 100% of trophies. Now, on a subjective level, I think I have a problem with this. Like I explained, it's a video game. I was on easy mode, don't get me wrong. I wasn't trying to challenge myself in the slightest with this. So I had all the things I already said, problems with this video game. I think objectively, and, I want to answer your question more, Zack, but when you say game mechanics, I don't want to talk about, I'm not mentioning here the, the glitchiness of it, the crashing, because it crashed for sure, don't get me wrong. I'm on PlayStation 4. But I think on an objective level, the biggest problem with Jedi Fallen Order is that the holo map is god-awful atrocious. And when I was in Endgame trying to get all the collectibles, because also there's a problem that, the collectibles are all aesthetic, and I couldn't care less what color my lightsaber is or what my tunic looks like. So when I was trying to get these collectibles, I spent so much time trying to figure out how to get from one area to the other, and I swear I wanted to break my PlayStation when I would find these stupid elevators on like Kashyyyk or something, and it would say, you cannot activate the elevator from this side. And I was like, game, you are manufacturing time that I'm spending on this. I think that's my biggest problem with the game, mechanics aside, it manufactures length of play by making you walk through these maps. Because there's no fast travel, which I'm sure everybody who's played it knows. If this game just had fast travel or let you use the elevators like real world elevators, this game would have been probably 30 hours shorter. I don't think I wrote down my total playtime or anything. No, it looks like I didn't. But it would make it so much more fluid. I spent so much time trying to figure out how to get to one area to pick up some stupid collectible that I needed for the trophy or to get my stupid droid to scan something. And that's why I had to go to YouTube videos, because I was stumped. I was literally running into walls. And I had to go to these YouTube videos, and the idiots in the YouTube videos wouldn't show how to get from one area to the next. And I'm like, that's the only thing anybody needs to find these collectibles. So my big problem with the game is that they manufactured how long it is. There's not real content. They fluffed it up. They basically pumped air into it to make it longer than it actually is.
I think I understand your problem, Rob.
That was definitely more than 3 sentences.
I don't know. I think that was like the start of the Gettysburg Address. It was one big sentence.
Yeah. Well, I was listening to that and I realized, I'm thinking back to my experience. I believe I played it on the hardest available difficulty on the Xbox One.
Okay.
And I I'm like, I don't remember being remotely frustrated by anything. I remember being slightly let down by the story, but then I realized I wasn't hunting for every single collectible in a compulsive fashion. So and in fact, when the game invited me to carry on playing after I finished the main story, I don't believe I've ever fired it up again since.
Okay.
So if you want to have you really just got to uncouple that necessity to get the 100%, man, because it's almost like an enjoyable film if you do that.
So I will say, I already mentioned I don't play. You keep moving your Cal figure closer to the camera, Zach, and it just never got into focus for some reason, which was very strange. That even when it was fully in frame, it was just not in focus, and there's nothing else there.
So the audience does at home, I have my Cal Calrissian figure on my desk.
Yes. But yeah. So I already said I don't play video games with the sound on. But I mean, it's not like I didn't pay attention to the story. Since Zach bought this for me and said oh, would you play through it and we would talk about it, I did pay attention to the story because. I will say, another thing I do with video games, since I play them just to get all the trophies, and I am not denying that. That is the only goal I have when I play video games. The first thing I need to find when I start a video game is how to skip cutscenes. I have 100% on The Witcher 3 and all the DLC, and I skipped every damn cutscene in that game. And I have no idea what choices I made. I don't care. I just knew which trophies I needed to do certain things to get. I did pay attention to the story. I have some issues with some of the story. I think the ending of Jedi Fallen Order is very strange. It's very blunt. I don't know if we're in spoiler territory, but that kind of final scene...
Spoiler for a game that came out 2.5 years ago.
But that final scene when Cal just lightsabers the cube or the map to the other Jedi kids or whatever, and he's just like, ha-ha! And then it just cuts to credits. I'm like, oh, so I did nothing this game? I found no conceivable thing other than I can make my lightsaber pink, and that type of thing. But I did, on the level of, a story, I think that I kind of have to agree with you, Zach. The Night Sister thing, some of the stuff that happened that I remember, I have some notes on and stuff, I did enjoy watching or reading, the cutscenes and stuff like that with the subtitles. So I will give it that. But, I think once I was done with that, trying to, navigate these maps and things like that, that's where it really, really started to grate on me, of course. And who is the dude? I think he's the shirtless dude. What's his name? Terrence Malice Terracos or Terrence Malick. Terrence Malick. Yes, you fight Terrence Malick. That was pretty cool. I remember liking that little bit of the storyline and stuff like that. I mean, it had the emotional beats and stuff like that. What Deborah Wilson's character had failed one of the Inquisitors or something like that along those lines.
Yeah, the second sister.
Yeah. There was a lot of stuff that the pilot of the ship, whatever his name was, he's voiced by Daniel Roebuck. That's how I knew him. He's Arnst from Lost, for everybody who likes that reference. Some of the stuff that he would drop, he mentioned something about Yaddle at one point, and I only know about Yaddle from you guys, and I was like, oh, that's a thing, And so some of that was fun, but as a game, it was not fun. The traversing the landscape that it put forward was such a struggle that it bothered me to no end.
I still think Fallen Order is probably one of the best Star Wars stories of the Disney era. That's
not even a remotely controversial statement, Zach.
I know it's not.
Clearly,
it might be relative to Rob, though. It might be relative to Rob. I don't think Rob cares, though. I think Rob did not analyze that game at all on the level that I did.
Definitely not. I mean, also in terms of not just kind of the hollow map. I mean, it being a nightmare to traverse because also. Whoever had the idea to make him all, you can see all the levels. There were so many times I'd bring up the map and I was I didn't know which level I was on and, going up and down would, skip. It was so difficult to control and figure out where I was. But then certain things are color-coded, right? This is, they had, an orange color for an unexplored area, or there was, a green color for, a door you can interact with. Most of the time I found that the colors of things on the holo map were not what you could actually do with those things. Like, I'd run up to a door at a certain point, and on the holo map it'd be green, and the legend would say like, oh, this means you can interact with it, and I just could not interact with it. And I was like, okay, I guess this isn't what I'm supposed to do, or something like that. And it was, I mean, I know you weren't trying to get too much on the mechanics, Zach, but it was so buggy, it was so glitchy. It was so, like, you know, just a nightmare, where I feel like it was, once again, purposefully almost, it felt that it happened so much that they were just trying to make it difficult for me to, like, play through the game.
I don't disagree with that at all.
Okay.
The gameplay left a lot to be desired.
Yeah.
It felt like the Force Unleashed watered down. Do not disagree with that at all. But
oh
again,
my God,
that story, man.
I just found this in my notes that this is coming back to me. I was irate when I would find something that your droid can scan, and I'd hit the scan button, and a little message would pop up and say, like, BD is busy. And I'd be like, what is it busy with? Its only purpose is to scan this stupid stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, that drove me crazy. I did like, though, that you can kill droids. Like, I lightsabered a bunch of random droids as I played through the game.
Whoa.
I did say kill. I know, Zenger. I know.
Okay,
I'm trying to just keep this going.
Okay.
I'm trying not to fall into too many ditches.
Oh my God. Please comment down below if you disagree with Rob's use of the term kill of robots.
Well, you know, there was a lot of talk about the fact that they did not allow lightsaber dismemberment of humans in that game. But, you know, droids are fair game. You can slice those dudes right in half, and they'll be in two glowing pieces on the ground. So that's very tolerable by society.
Very into that. I just wish I got, like, experience for it or something.
Well, Rob wanted the trophy. All right.
Yeah.
Like I said, again, at some point, I still, 2 years later, are promising a Jedi Fallen Order episode of the podcast.
Maybe we'll do it when I finally beat it.
You never beat the game?
Nope.
Zanger, what are you doing with
2.7 hours played on PC.
Zanger. Maybe do that instead of playing the Old Republic for 15 minutes.
Yeah, because that'll make a huge difference.
I don't know. I think I just played the main story stuff as fast as possible on the hardest difficulty. I don't imagine it took more than 6 hours. It's something reasonable, I'm sure.
Yeah, I just need to do it.
I do have a note from the first day I really played the game. So after I had my little hissy fit with Zack in video games, when I came back to it, I do have a note where I just wrote, "That's a lady stormtrooper. I know because of the breasts." So I'm imagining there was a stormtrooper that had like a breastplate or something.
I'm guessing that is just the second sister you're talking about, as there are no lady stormtroopers.
It probably could be.
In the Empire era.
I just wrote lady stormtrooper.
Incorrect.
I did like during
Thrawn novel. Second Thrawn novel.
Which
there are several stormtroopers.
Which second Thrawn novel, Zenger? You mean OG?
Not
Thrawn
the
trilogy?
Ascendancy crap.
Second Thrawn trilogy or third Thrawn trilogy? I can't even say anymore.
The second Thrawn trilogy that's actually canon. There are female stormtroopers. Also, weren't there female stormtroopers in that Bad Batch? That one show about the clones that didn't look anything like the thing they were cloned from.
Maybe. We still talk about that? It's still a thing, the ill bunch?
Sure. There's supposed to be a sequel.
Zenger is technically correct.
The best type of correct.
Dang straight.
I forced it out of my mind, that whole show, but it's they're wearing the gray clone armor, but I guess they're stormtroopers.
They're commandos.
Okay, here we
go.
Whatever
you know that one clone who's a sniper and his name is basically Sniper. I forget his actual name, but but he's got his crew. His crew is
the elite, stormtroopers. Yeah. I know what you're talking about, like the proto Death Trooper.
Okay, so there's a moment in. I have this in my notes. This is coming back as I read through my notes. This is coming back to me, and I made these notes like as I was playing it. You are like controlling one of the walkers. I don't have written down what it is.
And Kashyyyk,
Forrest Whitaker like pops up in your field of vision and says something to you, and I have it written down that it is the goofiest thing. And I remember it. It's coming back to me where he's like, it's dangerous to go alone. Take this or something stupid, like very video gamey. It just came across as so goofy.
Well, it's basically like Donkey Kong. Like you realize you're on a like 50-foot platform, and Forrest Whitaker like sticks his head in the window on top of it.
Yeah.
It's really quite outlandish if you think about it.
Hey! Who are you?
Someone who just brought an AT-AT to the table. Who are you?
Someone making the Empire angry. We're advancing on an imp landing pad up ahead. I wouldn't mind fire support.
Copy that. Let's make him even angrier.
He could have just called you.
Right?
All right. Is there anything else we want to discuss right now? Or actually, okay, Rob, real quick, because again, this episode's already going on 2 hours. Real quick, Rob, can you explain to the Knights of Vader audience? I'm kind of regretting this as I'm saying it. Rob, can you, in the most condensed, simplified way possible, explain to the audience at home what I tasked you with like 9 months ago regarding a very specific project?
Dang it.
Okay, so everybody imagine if you had a finite set of numbers and you projected that onto the Cartesian plane of vertices to form a polygon and then took the area of that polygon to create an aggregate score. Is everybody with me so far?
Hold on. I want to stop real quick because I want to make sure legally we have clarified. When you fall asleep listening, please stop your vehicle. Pull over to the side of the road for the rest of this conversation. I do not want to be liable for everybody wrecking their cars, or just sit down. Don't do anything because you will fall asleep. Rob, continue. Legally, we're fine now.
Okay. No, that is what I just said is a little maybe. Tease. Nice. I like that thing. That was good. A little tease for when we actually focus on it. But no, so many moons ago, Zach asked me or had the idea for, what if we did an episode of Knights of Vader where we had a way where, we have the group of us, as many of us usual Knights of Vader people we get, to rank lightsaber duels. And I was like, oh, that's a really neat idea. And Zach, I think you said something along the lines of, would there be like an interesting way to do this where we're not just saying like, oh, I really like that one and I kind of like that one or something, more of a quantitative approach. And once I thought about it and sat down, I love the idea. I love the idea of, actually ranking lightsaber duels and, having some metric for it. And once I sat down and actually thought about it, I came up with, it's not like I invented this or anything. That's not what I'm saying. It's a pretty common method for like, having a rubric and coming up with an aggregate score. But I basically wrote this down. I believe Chris has actually seen the pages that I have used to work out this algorithm.
I was in abject disbelief when I first saw them. They looked like prop pages out of the Necronomicon. It was insane.
And they're all whenever we get to this episode, I'll have to like post in the Knights of Vader Facebook group, and they're all fairly basic. But anyway, so once this happened, so on my end, I figured out this way that basically the idea is that we're gonna have like, let's take a lightsaber duel, like we've been talking about. Let's take the Obi-Wan versus Darth Vader from Episode 4. We'd all go around the room. We'd give like scores, basically, in certain categories. So it'd be a set of numbers. And I'm going to be able to take those and create an aggregate score. And that way we can actually rank them and say like, oh, Zenger ended up giving this one. I'm probably going to scale it out of 100, because I think that makes most sense. But it's like, oh, this one comes out to an 80 for Zenger, but only a 60 for Zack. And we're going to be actually get to be able to compare them. But the thing that I have no knowledge of is, well, what are the categories of the rubric? The idea of it's like, well, what goes in to a good lightsaber duel for you guys, for the Star Wars fans? And that's what kind of
this conversation.
Zenger, I'll send you the math. Don't worry.
Thank you.
But, so I came up with some ideas, and then Zach came back with me some more ideas. And I think now, before we actually get to this episode, that there's going to have to be some discussion, whether it be on mic or off, talking about, it's like, well, what goes into a good lightsaber duel? I don't know if you want to get into any of the ideas we had, Zach, but I think that's the general gist of it.
Yes, that's the most elaborate way of saying we're going to rank lightsaber duels. It's so funny. Like when I first pitched this to Rob, like I knew he was gonna take the ball and run with it, but he kind of did it like in a way that even I couldn't fathom or firmly grasp. But no, so like Rob has a very, very complex way of crunching numbers on this.
Okay, it's not that complex. If we keep it at 4 categories, what I'm calculating is the area of 2 triangles and adding them together. If we go to higher categories,
Chris just nods his head. Dagger's like,
if we go more than 4 categories, then it's going to have to involve some calculus, but that's also pretty basic. Zenger is. I might have to screenshot this. Zenger's face was wonder. Oh, now he's smiling, and we missed it. It was pure disdain.
Don't worry. If you start explaining this again, we'll go right back to me just being like.
Host has disabled participant screen sharing. I was going to show Zenger the math right now.
Listen, I'm throwing this out there. I love geometry because it's math that makes sense. It's something I can physically make. The crap you're about to do is so hypothetical. I hate it. I hate it to no end. I'm on board for it. Oh, what the shit?
Okay, can you see it? Did it work? Zoom literally, I said that, I was like, oh, I can't share my screen, and Chris, and like the notification, I saw Chris move his hand and the notification popped up. It said, you are the host now. Like Chris did the Captain Phillips thing to me. He was like, look at me, you are the host now, you know?
Okay, hold on. Rob, have you ever played Pokemon?
The card game or the video game? What does it matter? Yes to both.
Okay, because I'm looking at this and I'm like, he's now going to explain to me how he has a perfectly like EV trained Charmander that he's bred out of 1,000, and he's going to show me the math to that next.
That is what the pentagon looks like. Okay, yeah. But yeah, look at this. I mean, look, I'm doing areas of shapes. This is geometry. Oh yeah, look at that. Look at that beautiful stuff. But that's all worked out, so it's good fun. So it's all the categories. It's all the qualitative stuff that I don't know. We're having fun here.
Having something here, all right. So okay, the point being is that after that, if you're still here, God bless you, is that we're gonna be ranking lightsaber duels. I have a bunch of criteria. Rob is very insistent on 4. I want probably at least double that.
Okay.
It's gonna be a problem, at least momentarily. So my question is to you, the listener, who has survived this discussion for 2 hours now, all through the Jedi Order rant. Rob has an epiphany in real time.
8 might be also really easy. 8 might actually not involve calculus. Okay, I'll work that out. If we do 8, that might work. Oh, God.
Okay, the point being is...
I should generalize this for N categories.
Good job, Rob. The point being is that... Because when Rob did this, he's like, well, I hope we're just going to be doing the movies, right? I'm like, no, Rob. We're going to be doing specific episodes of the Clone Wars, Rebels... we could technically even do one with the Mandalorian, between Mandalorian and what's his name, Moff Gideon. And so basically, as a call to action to the listeners at home, please, if you have any obscure lightsaber duel or just any fight, I would say that would technically be like a 1v1 with swords or something. Technically it could be, oh God, Darth Maul and Savage Opress versus the Emperor. It could be, oh God, there's Ahsoka stuff. There's all this stuff in here. So if you have any ideas for an obscure lightsaber duel, heck, even bringing it back to Rebels and the Inquisitors. If you have any ideas for something that's not as blatant of, I like it when Luke and Vader fight in the original trilogy, share it, whether it be the Facebook group, whether it be Instagram, pass it our way. If it's obscure and you don't think it would just obviously blip on our radars, heck, it could even be one of the infinite number of Anakin, Obi-Wan versus Dooku fights from the Clone Wars. If it captures your imagination, if you want to die on that hill, by all means, we will sit there, put it in there.
Right on.
as always, put the season and episode numbers so we know exactly what it is that we're looking for. I'm pretty sure all of us have some access to Disney Plus, so it wouldn't be hard to access any of this. And as Rob and I discussed earlier, if you can somehow find a lightsaber duel from the holiday special,
Yes.
Bonus points. Like, that is a whammy round. If you can somehow make that fit the rubric, you will be all of our heroes, except for maybe Zenger.
Probably not. I actually guaranteed not.
Well, what we can do is we can put like a poll in the Facebook group too, where you can add responses. So at least it'll all be in one place. If anyone in there wants to shoot in a recommendation,
unless your mom doesn't let you go on Facebook.
Ask your parents' permission before joining Knights of Vader.
Detours.
I don't know if you want to go this far. Yeah, there you go, Zenger. I don't know if you want to go this far, Zach, but I'm interested in what the fans think would make a good lightsaber duel. You know, I mean, the categories of the rubric as I've been thinking of them. You know, I thought of choreography. That was like the first one that came to mind, is like, how cool does it look or something like that. I know, Zach, you said kind of along those lines when we talked about it off mic, originality or fulfilling, how fulfilling is the fight and things like that. But I mean, this is the stuff like what the duels are and what goes into it. Those are the things I really have no idea.
Yeah, even video games. I would say if you use The Force Unleashed, any of the video games, if you say Scene 38 reimagined, you will be immediately perma-banned. So,
and this is my last episode of the podcast, everybody.
But yeah, video games, anything. Like if it's in visual media, like I would say like a book, we really couldn't do justice because we wouldn't really know how to grade it. But yeah, because I imagine
with our imagination.
But yeah, anything like that. Like we're open to anything. If you can like provide evidence to it and you have a credible argument, then yeah, go for it. Really, sky's the limit.
Yeah, and
so the first duel on the Facebook poll will be Kyle Katarn versus Jarek in the Valley of the Jedi, because video games are on the table. All right, so I think that is probably pushing the limits of Zenger's sanity based on his visual appearance right now. So is there anything else you wanted to add in here?
Oh man, I gotta be up in like 4 hours.
I do have one question for you guys. I have one question that I've been dying to ask for a while. Which of the following species has a chitinous exoskeleton? Is it the Utai, the Polismasons, the Mustafarians, or the Wookiees? I've been dying to know the answer because my book doesn't talk to me, Chris.
It's gonna be the Mustafarians, probably.
It's a chitinist.
Oh, it's chitinous? Okay.
No, wait. What's the second one, Rob? What's the second choice?
B was Polismasons.
I'm voting for that.
Okay.
But that's an asteroid. Does it even have native aliens?
Oh, Jesus. You're really gonna argue this on like, oh God, like, okay. Why don't we let Rob tell us the answer, then we'll argue if it's actually a native like place that can have life. No, because
chitinous is referring to something underwater.
Rob, what's the goddamn answer?
Chitinous is like the exoskeleton of insects, Zenger. I mean, crabs, I think, are technically chitinous.
It's Mustafarians, man.
I also feel bad. I also feel bad, Zenger, because the only other person I've heard say the word chitinous was one of my high school teachers who said chitinous. Remember Miss Angel, my chemistry teacher, Zach?
Oh God.
She said chitinous. So she sucked anyway. The answer, according to the book, is C, Mustafarians.
Yeah, Chris was right. As soon as you said like insect-like, I was like, yeah, I might have to be Mustafarians. Yeah, Chris, why were you going to argue the fact that Polis Massa isn't even really like an indigenous like location, like where people can live?
Well, how was the question phrased? It was something about like the planet that species is from, right? So like, yeah, it was well motivated.
Please,
yeah.
I don't even have to get up for work tomorrow, and I want this episode to end.
Well, but I don't know. I kind of wanted to know, what is a gintho?
I'm pretty sure you can't say that on the media.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm taking the reins back. So conclude this episode of Knights of Vader, a Star Wars podcast. Check out the Facebook group, and you will find us there waiting for you. Instagram at KOV Podcast. Send Chris Porteous all your Star Wars musings. If you like what you hear, this is something that I've been waiting for a while. Apparently, I just discovered, I think we all did, that you can now rate podcasts on Spotify.
Oh, yeah.
So if you listen to the podcast on Spotify, please give us a 5 out of 5. We would certainly appreciate it if you enjoy listening. It's a new thing that Spotify has been doing, I think. So yeah, it's not just Apple anymore. The more stars we get on Spotify, the more it'll recommend us. So if you do, please give us a 5-star rating on Spotify. Thank you to Insert Joke About Rob's Band here for providing our theme song.
You're welcome.
Check out the show notes to hear more from them. If you want to hear more of me occasionally, but definitely more of Rob, check out the Cinemoddities podcast, where I think our next episode, Rob, will be the Men in Black 1 and 3.
I have no idea when this discussion is coming out, but if it is any time in March, just know that if you head on over, you will be hearing us talk about time travel movies. And I think that works out well because nobody knows what time travel movie is coming up next because we live in the turnstiles and the box from Primer now. But check it out. It's good fun. If this comes out in April, we're doing weird movies that people wouldn't expect us to be covering. I think that's the best way to say it.
Alrighty. Okay, the Porteous with the Mortius. When you are not editing this nonsense, what are you up to?
You could follow me at the Chris Porteous on Instagram, where I'm up to a pace of posting a new picture quarterly. So that's always fun and amusing over there.
And Zenger, when you're not contemplating every life choice that led you to this moment, what can you be found doing?
Well, you can find ZengThis wherever podcast, find it somewhere. But you should follow Metacricket on Twitter. META _CRICKET. Metacricket. It's cricket that reviews video games. It says whether they're good or not.
What do you think of Jedi Fallen Order?
They haven't listed that one yet.
I thought that was going to be the big reveal.
As of this recording, today's game was Donkey Kong 64 is not good.
That's got to make somebody mad, right?
Somebody somewhere.
Yeah.
He's worked his way up to 97. He's putting in the hours.
Well, their first post, because this is a very new very new Twitter, only 6 posts and over 5,000 followers. So I'm trying to help them out here. Their first post was Elden Ring is good.
Even with the dropped frames that everybody experiences? Still good with that? You can't play it? Still good, though? Oh, yeah, okay.
So, Rob, you know what? No, I'm not going to take the bait. End the episode, Zach.
Good night, but not goodbye. And as always, may the Force be with you.